September 11, 2015, 4:17 am Halifax, Canada. The streets are empty. The bars have closed. Most people are asleep, but surveillance cameras never blink, and on this night, they captured something that would haunt an entire city: a man walking calmly through the darkness, pulling a large green compost bin behind him. Inside that bin, the body of a police officer. Her name was Catherine Campbell. She was 36 years old. She had 6 years on the force, and less than an hour earlier, she had been alive. This is not a story about a random act of violence. This is a story about control, calculation, and how someone trained to save lives used that knowledge to take. 1. What you're about to hear will disturb you, not because of the brutality, but because of the silence. Before we talk about how Catherine Campbell died, we need to talk about how she lived, because she wasn't just a badge number. She wasn't just a statistic. She was a daughter, a sister, a friend, and she was someone who spent her entire life trying to help others. Catherine grew up in a family that believed in service. Her father had been a firefighter. So before Catherine ever thought about becoming a police officer, she followed in his footsteps, literally. She became a volunteer firefighter in her community, not for recognition, not for a paycheck, because helping people was woven into who she was. In 2009, Catherine joined the Truro Police Department in Nova Scotia. Truro is a small town, about 12,000 people, the kind of place where officers know the community by name, where policing isn't about chasing down criminals in high-speed pursuits. It's about showing up, being present, building trust, and Catherine was good at it. Her colleagues described her as dependable. She showed up on time. She took her job seriously, and if she was ever running late, which was rare, she always called. That detail matters, because later, when Catherine didn't show up for work and didn't call, everyone knew immediately that something was wrong. But here's the thing about Catherine that often gets lost in true crime stories. She wasn't just a police officer. She had a life outside the uniform. She had friends. She went out. She laughed. She danced. And on the night of September 10, 2015, after finishing her patrol shift, Catherine made a decision that so many of us make without thinking twice. She wanted to go out and have fun. She drove back to her apartment in Dartmouth, about 45 minutes from Truro. She changed out of her uniform, put on civilian clothes. For one night, she didn't want to be Officer Campbell. She just wanted to be Catherine. She had no idea that decision would be her last. Christopher Garnier was 27 years old, and if you had met him a few years earlier, you might have trusted him with your life. Literally, Christopher had been a paramedic. He'd worked in emergency medical services, responding to 911 calls, performing CPR, stabilizing trauma patients. He understood anatomy, breathing, circulation, pressure points. He knew exactly how much force it took to stop a heartbeat, and he knew how long it took for someone to die. But here's what most people don't understand about violent offenders. Professional competence and emotional stability are not the same thing. You can be trained to save lives and still be dangerous, because training teaches you skills. It doesn't teach you empathy. By September 2015, Christopher's life was falling apart. He'd lost his job as a paramedic. His long-term relationship had ended. He was drinking heavily, and he was angry. In psychology, there's a concept called narcissistic injury. It's what happens when someone with an inflated sense of self-worth experiences failure or rejection. For most people, failure is painful but manageable. For someone with narcissistic tendencies, failure feels like an attack, and rejection feels like betrayal. Christopher had gone from being someone who saved people to someone who couldn't even save himself. His identity was shattered. His ego was bruised, and when someone like that goes out looking for validation, when they're drinking, angry, and desperate to feel in control again, that's when they become dangerous. Christopher had also worked as a bouncer at bars in Halifax. He was used to physical confrontation. used to using his size and strength to control situations, and on the night of September 10, 2015, he walked into the Halifax Ale House, a popular bar in downtown Halifax. He was drinking. He was looking. And then he saw Catherine Campbell. He didn't know she was a police officer. He didn't know she was dependable, respected, loved. All he saw was a woman, alone, smiling, and he wanted her attention. The Halifax Ale House was busy that night. It was a Thursday, the unofficial start of the weekend for a lot of people. Music was loud. Drinks were flowing. People were dancing. And somewhere in that crowd, Catherine Campbell was having a good time. Witnesses later told police that Catherine seemed relaxed. She was talking to people, laughing, dancing. She wasn't sloppy drunk. She wasn't falling over. She was just enjoying herself. Christopher noticed her almost immediately. Surveillance footage from inside the bar captured them interacting multiple times throughout the night. They danced together. They talked closely. At one point, they kissed. Everyone around them, it looked consensual. Two adults, attracted to each other, choosing to spend time together. But here's where psychology becomes critical. Attraction and consent are not permanent states. Just because someone is interested at 11 p.m. doesn't mean they're still interested at m. Just because someone kisses you doesn't mean they owe you anything else. And just because someone leaves a bar with you doesn't mean they've agreed to everything that comes next. Catherine was looking for connection. Christopher was looking for control. And those are not the same thing. Shortly after 3 o'clock a.m., Catherine and Christopher left the bar together. They got into a taxi. The driver later gave a statement to police. He said he didn't hear them arguing. He didn't see anything violent, but he remembered feeling uneasy. He couldn't explain why. Just that something about the energy in the back seat felt off. This is something psychologists call intuitive threat detection. Your brain picks up on micro-signals, body language, tone of voice, facial expressions that your conscious mind doesn't fully process. You don't know why you feel uncomfortable. You just do. The taxi driver dropped them off at an apartment building on Macaulay Street in downtown Halifax. The building had a coded entry. Christopher had the code because his friend Mitchell lived there. Mitchell wasn't home that night. The apartment was empty. The taxi drove away. And the driver had no idea he had just delivered Catherine Campbell to the last place she would ever be alive. What happened inside that apartment is known through 3 sources: forensic evidence, Christopher Garnier's own statements, and the cold, undeniable facts of Catherine's injuries. There are no witnesses, no recordings, no one heard screaming. But we know this. Something changed. Maybe Catherine changed her mind. Maybe she wanted to leave. Maybe she said no. We don't know exactly what triggered Christopher, but we know what happened next. Catherine Campbell was punched repeatedly in the face. Her nose was fractured. Both of her eyes were blackened. Forensic pathologists later determined that these injuries were inflicted while she was still alive. She was fighting back, but Christopher was bigger, stronger, and he had training. Strangulation is not a crime of passion. It's not a split-second decision. It takes time. The human brain can survive without oxygen for about 4 to 6 minutes before irreversible damage occurs. But unconsciousness happens much faster, usually within 10 to 15 seconds of sustained pressure on the carotid arteries. Christopher Garnier knew this. As a paramedic, he had been trained on it. He placed his hands around Catherine's throat, and he applied pressure, consistent, sustained, controlled. Catherine couldn't scream. She couldn't breathe. Within seconds, she lost consciousness. But Christopher didn't stop. He kept pressing, for minutes, until he was absolutely certain she was dead. Catherine Campbell. Most people, when confronted with the reality of what they've done, panic. They flee. They call someone. They break down. Christopher Garnier did none of those things. He cleaned. Investigators later found blood evidence in multiple locations inside the apartment. On the floor, on the television, on the Xbox console, and on a cupboard handle. the cupboard that contained cleaning supplies. This tells us something critical. Christopher didn't just wipe down surfaces. He thought about what needed to be cleaned. He went to the cupboard, selected cleaning products, and methodically erased evidence. This is not the behavior of someone in shock. This is the behavior of someone in control. Around 4:00 a.m., Christopher left the apartment. Surveillance cameras captured him walking to a communal trash area behind the building. He looked through several bins. Then he selected one, a large green compost bin. He pulled it back toward the apartment entrance. Inside the apartment, Christopher wrapped Catherine's body in the mattress from the pull-out couch. Then he placed her inside the bin. And then he started walking. Over the next hour, multiple people saw Christopher Garnier pulling that green bin through downtown Halifax. A garbage truck driver noticed him. He thought the bin looked unusually heavy. A man on his way to work made eye contact with Christopher. Later, he told police, "Something felt wrong. I can't explain it, but I felt it." Surveillance cameras tracked Christopher's route. He walked calmly, methodically, unhurried. At around 4:30 a.m., Christopher reached an overpass near the Angus L. MacDonald Bridge. It's a secluded area. No foot traffic at that hour. No cameras. He dumped Catherine's body under the overpass, covered it with debris. Then he took her keys and discarded them nearby, but he didn't leave the bin there. He pulled it to a completely different location and abandoned it. This is called evidence separation. Criminals do this to make it harder for investigators to connect the dots. If the body is in one place and the bin is in another, it takes longer to establish a link. Christopher knew this. By around 5:30 a.m., Christopher returned to the apartment on McCulley Street. He cleaned again, wiped down more surfaces, checked for anything he might have missed, and then he lay down on the couch. And he slept. Later that morning, Mitchell, Christopher's friend who lived in the apartment, came home. He immediately noticed something strange. Christopher was asleep on the couch, but the mattress from the pull-out couch was gone. Mitchell asked about it. Christopher had an answer ready. He said he'd gotten sick during the night, that he'd thrown up all over the mattress, that it was ruined, so he threw it in the trash. Mitchell believed him. Why wouldn't he? Christopher seemed calm, normal. There was no reason to suspect anything. Over the next 2 days, Christopher Garnier's behavior was remarkable, not because it was erratic, but because it was so ordinary. On Friday, less than 24 hours after killing Catherine, Christopher reconciled with his ex-girlfriend. He moved back in with her. On Saturday, he went to his father's birthday party. He smiled, he laughed, he hugged family members. He had sex with his girlfriend. In criminal psychology, this is significant. Most killers exhibit behavioral changes after committing murder. They become withdrawn, paranoid, anxious. They avoid eye contact. They leak guilt. Christopher leaked nothing. This level of compartmentalization suggests one of two things. Either Christopher genuinely felt no remorse, which would indicate psychopathy, or he was so skilled at emotional suppression that he could perform normalcy even while knowing what he'd done. Either way, it's chilling. Monday, September 14, 2015. Catherine Campbell was scheduled to work a shift with the Truro Police Department. She didn't show up, and she didn't call. For anyone else, that might not have raised immediate alarms. But for Catherine, this was completely out of character. Her supervisor tried calling her. No answer. Her colleagues tried texting. Nothing. A welfare check was requested. Officers went to Catherine's apartment in Dartmouth. Everything looked normal. No signs of a struggle. No forced entry. But her purse was missing. Her phone was missing. Her police-issued firearm was missing. And when investigators pulled surveillance footage from her building, they confirmed what they already feared. Catherine had never come home. Police immediately began reviewing security footage from downtown Halifax, bars, street cameras, transit stations, and that's when they saw it. Catherine leaving the Halifax ale house with an unidentified man, getting into a taxi, and then nothing. On September 15th, a passerby near the McDonald Bridge noticed something under the overpass. At first, they thought it was garbage, but when they got closer, they realized it was a body. It was Catherine Campbell. The case officially became a homicide, and investigators already had a lead. Taxi records showed exactly where Catherine and her companion had been dropped off that night: the apartment building on Macaulay Street. Security footage showed the man pulling a large green bin through the streets. His face was clearly visible. Within hours, police identified him: Christopher Garnier, 27 years old, former paramedic, known to frequent Halifax bars. On the afternoon of September 16th, police arrested Christopher Garnier. They searched his car, and what they found was damning. Inside Christopher's vehicle, investigators discovered a rolled-up tarp, rope, a blanket, gasoline, and his passport. This wasn't random junk left in a car. This was a kit designed for one purpose: destroying evidence and possibly fleeing the country. Christopher Garnier sat in an interrogation room for 9.5 hours. Detectives confronted him with evidence: surveillance footage, witness statements, forensic findings. Christopher's strategy was simple: claim he didn't remember. He said he'd been drinking heavily that night, that he'd mixed alcohol with prescription medication, that everything was a blur. But here's the problem with selective amnesia: it only works if you're actually consistent. Christopher claimed he couldn't remember what happened to Catherine, but he could remember cleaning the apartment. He could remember wrapping her body. He could remember pulling the bin through the streets. Detectives pressed him on this. If you don't remember killing her, how do you remember cleaning up? Christopher's answer? He said he blacked out during the violence, but when he came to, Catherine was dead. And then, in what he framed as panic, he decided to hide the body. Forensic psychologists call this strategic dissociation. It's when someone claims a lack of memory for the act itself, the morally indefensible part, but maintains full memory of everything before and after. It's a way of separating yourself from responsibility while still explaining your actions. But it rarely holds up, because true dissociation doesn't allow for methodical behavior. You don't dissociate your way through a cleanup. You don't black out and then calmly select a compost bin. Dissociation is chaotic. Christopher's actions were calculated. Eventually, after hours of interrogation, Christopher admitted something critical: Catherine was not breathing when he put her in the Christopher Garnier's trial began in 2017. He was charged with second-degree murder. His defense team argued 3 main points. First, that Catherine's death was the result of consensual rough sex gone wrong, that she had agreed to choking, that Christopher didn't intend to kill her. The prosecution tore this apart. Forensic evidence showed Catherine had been punched repeatedly. Her nose was fractured. Both eyes were blackened. This wasn't consensual anything. This was a beating. Second, the defense argued that Christopher suffered from PTSD, that his time as a paramedic had left him traumatized, that he wasn't in control of his actions. But the prosecution countered: PTSD doesn't explain a cover-up. PTSD doesn't explain selecting a bin. PTSD doesn't explain cleaning blood off surfaces. Third, the defense claimed dissociation, that Christopher's mind had checked out during the killing, that he wasn't fully aware of what he was doing. But again, the evidence said otherwise. Christopher's behavior after the killing was lucid. He made decisions. He problem-solved. He interacted normally with people. Dissociation doesn't work that way. The jury deliberated for less than 2 days. On December 21, 2017, they returned a verdict. Guilty of second-degree murder, Christopher Garnier was sentenced to life in prison. Parole eligibility after 13.5 years. That means the earliest he can apply for parole is 2009. Catherine Campbell will never get parole. She will never see 2029. She was 36 years old when she died, and she died because she trusted the wrong person on the wrong night. After the verdict, Catherine's family gave statements. Her mother said, "Catherine was our light, and he took that from us." Her father, a retired firefighter who had inspired Catherine's life of service, said, "She spent her life protecting people, and no one was there to protect her." The Truro Police Department held a memorial service. Officers from across Nova Scotia attended. Catherine's badge number was retired, but here's what haunts people most about this case. It wasn't random. Catherine didn't wander into a dangerous neighborhood. She didn't get into a car with a stranger. She went to a popular bar in a busy part of town. She met someone who seemed normal, who smiled, who danced with her, who, on the surface, seemed safe. And that's the truly terrifying part. In the years since Catherine's death, her case has been studied by criminologists and psychologists, not because it's unusual, but because it's not. Every year, women are killed by men they met in bars, on dating apps, at parties, men who seem charming, friendly, trustworthy, and then something shifts. A rejection, a boundary, a word they didn't want to hear. The problem isn't that women make bad decisions. The problem is that some men can't handle being told no. And when you combine that entitlement with alcohol, isolation, and an inflated ego, that's when normal interactions become deadly. Catherine Campbell didn't do anything wrong. She went out. She had fun. She interacted with someone who seemed interested. And she paid for that with her life. Christopher Garnier is currently incarcerated at a federal prison in Nova Scotia. He has shown no public remorse. In 2029, he will be eligible for parole. Whether he gets it remains to be seen. Catherine Campbell's name is engraved on a memorial wall at the Truro Police Department. Her family continues to advocate for victims' rights. And every year, on the anniversary of her death, her colleagues hold a moment of silence. But Catherine is more than a memorial. She's a reminder that danger doesn't always announce itself. It doesn't always look threatening. Sometimes it looks calm, professional, friendly. Sometimes it buys you a drink. Sometimes it dances with you. And sometimes it walks quietly through the night, pulling a green bin behind it. If Catherine's story affected you, remember her name, not just as a victim, but as a person who deserved better, a police officer who spent her life protecting others, and a daughter, sister, and friend who is deeply missed. This has been the Green Bin Killer. Thank you for listening.